Now it's time for my Totally BS spooky story entitled The Day the Zombies Attacked. The invasion began on October 31st, 2008. The night was eerily silent, as if the dead were alive and tiptoeing amongst the living. The calm hush had been replaced by a shrill cry of triumph. The banshees were haunting about and flaunting their stolen freedom. Dark shadows were lurking by every fire. The lifeless bodies were strewn about the streets, much like discarded rubbish as thrown from a vagrant's window. They sculpted their bodies in similar fashions to praise an unknown being. Their empty souls had remained behind, whilst their God-fearing ancestry took this moment of weakness and fled from the disease and rot. It was ritualistic, this romance, and it was empty, and it was misguided. The howls and screams were primeval, and this much was true. With this transformation, humankind had finally been replaced by something less than a humankind, and humanity had been eclipsed by madness, just as the moon eclipses the needed light from the sun. The stark difference in this instance, though, was that this cloud was not showing any signs of dissolving any time soon. It lingered about and hung around, like the stench of death foreshadows a disaster. It foretold the future. Dark days were indeed ahead. A low whistle echoed throughout the alleys. It was the wailing that came from the lifeless masses. Their time had come, and they slowly came back to life. They danced around the street fires like wild gypsies in exultation as they celebrated their rebirth. The undead rejoiced. They felt powerful and strong. They had no ability to feel at all, but somehow still they felt. I sat on my porch and watched the events go on. At first they were elated by their newfound liberty. They were free from thinking, from doing, from all responsibility. They had common interest, but that didn't last. I chuckled from my spot as I watched them clumsily bump into one another. Watching these lifeless bodies was comical. They were confined into a small space. They couldn't do any harm to anyone, except for themselves. But hell, how much worse could they get? November 1st, 2008. And then the change came. As I slept, they had breached the fence. They had separated themselves from infecting the public with their delusions. The constant moaning had dissipated somewhat, although the crying remained. And this sudden change was what woke me from my sleep. I was the one that was in charge of looking over their welfare. It was my responsibility to make sure that they would not continue to hurt themselves or any others. And I had lost control. The disillusioned minority had somehow become free, and they were walking about the streets in an ignorant mass of intimidation. I feared the disease would spread throughout the populace. Their ignorance was one hungry force to deal with. They were like locusts. They would destroy everything in their path without a second thought. November 3rd, 2008. I had finally mended the holes in the fence in an attempt to save the ones that I could. Then I quickly gave chase to those that had escaped in hopes that their sickness would not spread. There was only one road that led out of this town, and being zombies, I knew that they moved slowly, so they would be easy to follow. I was shocked to discover the image that confronted me. Empty houses, dead communities, poverty, pockets of starving, sickly communities that were the sole survivors of that was once the backbone of American society. The middle class was dying. I knew that the disease was spreading more quickly than it should have. My scientific mind deduced that the new enemy had gained trust through lies and through likeness. I also noticed that wherever they had been was filled with more soulless individuals, who were all intent on following the others. They were needing something. The zombies appeared to offer them something. Occasionally I would find one of the disease feeding on the poor. By that I mean eating away at their brains of an innocent person. When I saw this, I would hide away and just observe. I knew that gaining knowledge was the best way to battle this epidemic, and the difference would be most important when it came to battling these zombies. I saw that the infected infected the uninfected. It was becoming a vicious cycle of despair. The brainless zombies appeared to be unstoppable with their brainless agenda, and they had only one thought, one impulse, and that was to destroy everything in their path. By doing that, they would be able to establish a following that could not be severed. Families, individuals, trust. They would feed on anything that they encountered. The zombie movement appeared to be just too strong. November 5th, 2008. The zombie brain dead and spread like the flu. My freedom fighters slipped back into hiding and decided to wait for the zombie invasion to subside. Today's date, October 31st, 2013. America's resources are still being drained because of the zombies, but it appears that the truth is becoming clear. Free men will rule again, and we will be free from tyrants and monarchs, just as we set forth to be on this great nation. Stay strong, believers. We have suffered through the worst part of this illness, but we will be strong again. After all, now we have Obamacare. For the Totally BS Show, I'm Brady Sheets, wishing you a very safe and happy Halloween, and saying that I will see you later.